In a sun-dappled forest where ancient trees whispered secrets to the wind, there lived a young fox named Finn. He was clever, quick, and undeniably handsome with his fiery red coat and bright amber eyes. But Finn had one flaw that shadowed all his gifts: he wanted everything he could not have. The forest creatures had learned to tolerate Finn's envy. When the rabbits harvested carrots, Finn wanted carrots. When the squirrels gathered acorns, Finn wanted acorns. But the moment they shared their bounty with him, he would turn up his nose. "I didn't want them anyway," he'd say, his tail flicking with irritation. "They're probably bitter."
The great cycle of our forest begins anew. Prepare for the magic of winter.
One autumn morning, as the forest
great
blazed with
cycle
colors
of our
of gold and
forest
crimson,
begins
the
anew.
animals
Prepare
gathered
for
around
the
the
magic
oldest
of
tree in the
winter.
clearing. A great horned owl named Oren lived there,
The
and
great
he had called a
cycle of our
meeting.
forest begins anew.
The ancient
Prepare
grapevine
for the
on the
magic
eastern
of
hill
winter.
has produced its finest harvest in 100 years, Oren announced, his
The
golden
great
eyes
cycle
gleaming.
of our forest begins
The
anew.
grapes are said to be
Prepare for
sweeter
the
than
magic
honeyed
of
sunlight.
winter.
Finn's ears perked up. Sweet grapes? Better than honeyed sunlight? His heart raced with desire. He had never tasted grapes, no fox in the forest had, but suddenly, he wanted them more than anything he had ever wanted in his life. The desire burned in his chest like a small, hot flame. The grapes are high on the vine, Oren continued, and the hill is steep. Only those who truly need them, and are willing to work together, will reach them. Finn barely heard the last part. He was already picturing himself triumphant, the sweetest grape between his teeth, the other animals looking at him with admiration and envy. The journey to the eastern hill took 3 days. Finn traveled alone, refusing the company of the rabbit family who offered to share their food. "I don't need your carrots," he snapped, though his stomach growled. "I'm going for grapes, real food, not rabbit food." The rabbits exchanged sad looks and continued on their own path. On the second day, Finn met a chatty grey squirrel named Nutmeg who was also heading to the
There are giant bears and
grapevine.
deep pits that way.
I've got this
Have you
completely
heard?
under control, Nutmeg.
Nutmeg chattered, bouncing from
You are
branch to
heading
branch.
straight for danger.
The
There are
grapes are
giant
guarded by
bears and
thorns.
deep pits that way.
I've got this
And
completely
the
under
hill is
control,
crawling
Nutmeg.
with snakes.
Finn,
And I
you are
don't care
heading
about
straight
any
for
of that.
danger.
Finn
There are
interrupted,
giant
his eyes
bears and
fixed on the
deep pits
distant
that
hill.
way.
I've got this completely under
I'm
control,
going to
Nutmeg.
get those grapes, and no one else will have
You
them.
are heading straight for danger. There are giant bears and deep pits that way.
I've got this completely under control, Nutmeg.
By the third day, Finn's paws were sore and his fur was matted with dust. But the eastern hill finally rose before him, and there it was. The ancient grapevine. Its trunk was as thick as 3 foxes, twisted and gnarled like the hands of time itself. And hanging from its branches, catching the morning light like purple jewels, were the grapes. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Each one plump and perfect and glistening with dew. Finn's mouth watered. He could almost taste the
I
sweetness.
must reach those grapes.
He ran to the vine, his heart pounding with joy. But as he reached for the lowest cluster, he discovered the first truth
I must
that Oren
reach
had
those
spoken.
grapes.
The grapes were high. Very high. The lowest bunch hung at least 3 fox lengths above his
I
head.
must reach those grapes.
Finn jumped. He leaped with all his strength, his body a red arc against the blue sky. His paws brushed the grapes, just barely, but they swung away, laughing at his effort. He landed hard, the wind knocked from his lungs. Again, he muttered, and jumped once more. And again. And again. Each leap fell short. Each landing grew harder. His paws began to bleed on the sharp stones. As the sun climbed higher and beat down on the hill, Finn's fur became soaked with sweat. He tried climbing the vine's trunk, but the bark was smooth and offered no grip. He tried digging at the base, hoping the vine would lower, but his claws scraped uselessly against stone. The grapes hung above him, purple and perfect and utterly unreachable. Exhausted, Finn collapsed at the base of the vine. His tongue hung out, his sides heaved, and his once proud tail lay limp in the dust. He looked up at the grapes one more time. They seemed to glow in the sunlight, impossibly beautiful, impossibly far. And then, in that moment of utter defeat, something shifted inside him. Not wisdom, not yet. But the first crack in his pride. "I don't want them anyway," Finn whispered, but this time the words tasted different. They didn't taste like pride. They tasted like ash. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in his life, he felt the full weight of his own wanting, the endless hunger that had driven him to chase everything and appreciate nothing. "That's the sour grapes talking," said a deep, rumbling voice. Finn's eyes snapped open. A large brown bear sat nearby, watching him with ancient, patient
True
eyes.
strength is found in a
"I've seen
gentle
many foxes
heart.
come to this vine,"
Remember
the bear
that,
said
little
slowly.
one.
"They all jump. They all fail.
True strength is found
And they all
in
say
a
the
gentle
same thing
heart.
at the end, that they didn't
Remember
want the
that,
grapes
little one.
anyway."
True strength is found in a gentle heart. Remember that, little one.
"But I did want them," Finn admitted, his voice small and honest. "More than anything." The bear nodded, as if this confession was the most important thing he had ever heard. "Then that is where you must begin," he said. "Not with the grapes, but with the truth. You wanted them. You could not reach them. Both things are true. Can you hold them both?" Finn didn't understand. He sat in silence, his mind turning over the bear's words like stones in a stream. As the afternoon shadows lengthened, he heard voices from below the hill. The rabbit family, the same rabbits he had rejected, were climbing steadily upward. They carried woven baskets on their backs, and they moved with quiet determination. They weren't jumping. They were walking. Together. The rabbits reached the vine, but they didn't try to jump. Instead, they worked together. One rabbit stood on another's shoulders. A third climbed up, using their combined height as a ladder. They reached the lowest grapes, not the highest, not the finest, but real grapes, sweet and true. And they shared them. Each rabbit took one, and there was enough for all. Finn watched, and something broke open in his chest. Not his pride this time, his understanding. He had been so focused on having all the grapes, the best grapes, that he had made them impossible to reach. The rabbits had accepted what was possible, and in that acceptance, they found sweetness. Finn's eyes filled with tears he didn't know he could cry. The rabbits noticed Finn. The mother rabbit, whose name was Clover, hopped over with a grape in her paw. "We saw you trying," she said gently. "Would you like one? They're not the highest, but they're sweet." Finn looked at the grape, small, slightly imperfect, but offered with genuine kindness. His throat tightened. I was cruel to you," he said. "I don't deserve your kindness."
No.
"Deserving has nothing to do with it," Clover said, pressing the grape into his paw. "We have enough. And you look like you need sweetness in your life, not just in your mouth." Finn took the grape. It was small. It had a tiny blemish on one side. And when he bit into it, the sweetness flooded his mouth like sunlight flooding a dark room. But it wasn't just the grape. It was the gift. The acceptance. The letting go of his own impossible hunger. The bear watched from his place in the shade, and a slow smile spread across his broad face. You see, he rumbled. The grapes were never sour. They were just grapes. Some high, some low. Some perfect, some imperfect. The sourness was in the wanting that blinded you to what was possible, what was real, what was offered with love. That night, Finn didn't dream of having all the grapes. He dreamed of sharing one. He dreamed of Clover's gentle eyes and the bear's patient wisdom. And when he woke, the world looked different. The carrots he had rejected were orange and bright. The acorns he had dismissed were sturdy and nourishing. The things he couldn't have didn't haunt him anymore, because the things he could have, friendship, kindness, enough, were finally enough. In the seasons that followed, Finn became known as the fox who helped rather than envied.
Together, we
When the
make our
rabbits
forest a
planted carrots,
home.
he guarded their garden. When the squirrels gathered acorns, he helped carry the heaviest loads.
Together, we make our
And when
forest
new
a
animals
home.
came to the forest, chasing impossible grapes of their own, Finn would sit with them and tell his story.
Together,
Not as a
we
warning,
make our
but as an
forest a
invitation.
home.
To look at what they had. To accept what was offered. To
Together,
find sweetness in enough.
we make our forest a home.
The ancient grapevine still grows on the eastern hill. The grapes still hang high and low, perfect and imperfect. And sometimes, on autumn mornings, you can see a red fox sitting at its base, not jumping, not grasping, just watching. Appreciating. Content. For he had learned the deepest truth of all, that the sweetest thing in life is not having everything you want, but wanting everything you have.